And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today, sometimes board game news makes me laugh out loud, and when I heard about Jaws being added to the Funkoverse, that was one of those times, because Funkoverse, if you've not played before, and you should, go watch my original review for it, Funkoverse has always been kind of silliness anyway. You have Batman fighting against Voldemort, fighting against Rick and Morty, but a shark, this is getting more like the shark from Sharknado coming in and just destroying So, I don't know. I just found that to be amusing. This is a small version of Jaws, a Funkoverse, that you can play that adds Jaws and Quint. You can play this by itself, although I never recommend playing these by themselves. I always recommend adding these to the overall big universe and playing them with a bigger set, these two-player sets. But this one's fun. A lot of people are going to get it simply because there's a shark. Nothing else matters. Quint, I'm sure it's going to be popular, but people will want the shark. Well, let's take a look at both of them. Okay, so first we have the two new characters. We have Quint and we have the shark. That's, I guess, the technical name of the shark, but everyone calls him Jaws. So we'll start with, I guess, Quint, because he's the more normal of the two. Quint has Farewell and Adieu. But before, I guess, we talk about his special abilities, we talk about Veteran Hunter. Basically, when Quint becomes exhausted, you can give this hunted status card to someone else, a rival character. Say a shark, but actually give it to anybody. I like having Quint hunt down a raptor. Anyway, when he knocks this character out, the player controlling him shifts all those two color tokens on their track down by 1. That's actually pretty handy. It makes him a pretty good support character to put with other people who have the red and the gray stats. Anyway, he can move 4 squares towards a person with the hunted status card and do a challenge 2 to them. He can also roll range 3, challenge 2, roll an extra die for each of your status cards on the target, which is kind of cool if you can mix this with someone else who puts status cards in something else, but even if you don't, still pretty handy. And you can stand him up and challenge 2 even when he's knocked down. Really useful. These are all very high numbers. He's not going to be able to use them very often, except that if he does knock out the hunted character, then these all move down and he can use them again. Pretty good idea. This is an archetype that's in a lot of games, someone who hunts somebody else. I like the concept, and Quint is certainly a good choice for that. A good support character. Then we have the shark. Now, the shark here is one of the most unique characters in the game in that it starts submerged and it's going to move around. I mean, yes, we've already talked about the fact that this is ridiculous to have a shark fighting other things. Of course, this game's ridiculous, so who cares? So the shark is either going to start submerged and you can move around, but you can't assist, challenge, or interact. You're just moving, basically. And one of your basic actions can be emerge. Rah! Come out. And then when you emerge, we flip the card over. Now the shark can't be moved by your opponent. And if the shark does an action that moves it, the shark submerges. So if you move, you go back down. So basically you're like, come out, attack, through the floorboards. The shark also does have a swim thing, which is pretty awesome. Lets you move 3 and then emerge. Blood in the water, place him adjacent to a rival within 3 squares and then emerge, which is pretty cool. Or to any knockdown rival. That one is pretty cool. I knock someone down and, hello, I'm here, baby. And then Jaws itself, challenge 5. You may place the target in any square adjacent to the shark. Such a good one to have. That's the second most powerful attack in the game currently, other than Voldemort's attack. So that's pretty neat. So Jaws, people are going to fight to use Jaws. One thing that's interesting about Jaws is most characters have a little hole in their hand here. Jaws actually has it in his mouth. So I could give Jaws the harpoon gun here, and he's holding it in his mouth. So think about all the fun you can do with that. I like using Jaws with a handbag myself. So speaking of the harpoon gun, this is the item that comes in this set. So when this character challenges a rival character, you can place this card on 1 on your cooldown track and give them a barrel. This basically reduces their moves by 1. They can get rid of it by moving, since they reduce by 1, it's slow, or if they're knocked out. So you can, if you harpoon them once, you might harpoon them again. So they have to be really careful about that. I don't know if this is my favorite item, but it's a pretty solid item. The game comes with a 2-sided board here. You have the boat. I really like the boat. I'm just not going to play on this very often because it's one of the smaller boards when you're only playing with a couple characters. The other side, the bigger board, has the beach, which is also pretty cool. The Comes with these. I really was laughing at this. Basically, the interesting thing here: you arrive at the beach to discover caution signs. Do you lounge by the fire or brave the waves? What does that have to do with fighting each other? I just thought some of this stuff was kind of funny, and here you're comparing scars to each other. But it is a lot of fun to play on these boards, and they look really cool. The rule book, of course, same as all the other rule books. Nice and easy and explains things pretty clearly. And yeah, the components are just as good as everything else. Oh, I forgot to mention there's also a tiger shark and a swimmer in the game. Alrighty, I'm not going to belabor the point here. You already have pre-ordered this or planning to get it if you own Funkoverse. Because if you are delving into the silliness that is Funkoverse, then you want the shark. That being said, I like both characters a lot. Quint, I wouldn't even mind having the characters on the same team. They do work okay together. I'm not saying it's been done, and Quint actually is helping the shark and hunting down a raptor instead. I'm just saying. Or Quint, his target's now Voldemort. I don't know. I get a kick out of these sort of things. So maybe I can have Quint, the shark, and Kool-Aid Man as my team. That being said, when I look at these expansions, I look at the 2 new characters and then the item. The item is good, not great. It's not one I would draft first, but I can see a lot of usefulness to it. However, these 2 are technically in the upper tier of characters, I think. Quint is a great support character. Also can do some pretty powerful attacks on his own. The shark is just going to annoy your opponents. You know, just moving around. They can't do anything to it. Then it emerges. So they have to kind of time it right for when the shark emerges. It's pretty powerful. But both of these figures are a little trickier to use, so you also want to keep in mind that this is not necessarily a beginner set per se. I wouldn't recommend this as getting it as your first one, but once you have a set already, throwing this in as an expansion would be a lot of fun. So that's the Jaws Funkoverse. Dice Tower Judgment approved.